NTHE nurse's voice, usually so gentle, was firm, almost cold. "Ma'am, we need to discuss the outstanding balance." Her words, sharp and precise, NCUT through the haze of my exhaustion, landing like a physical blow. The 5 tiny lives, just hours old, lay nestled in their bassinets beside NME, their fragile breaths a testament to the miracle I had just endured, and 5 at once. And for that, he refused to pay the hospital bill. My daughters, I realized with a sickening lurch, had entered debt with their first breath. The sterile white walls of the delivery room, once a symbol of hope, now felt like the confines of a prison. I could still feel the phantom weight of their tiny bodies, the warmth of their skin against mine, a warmth that was now rapidly being replaced by the icing grip of his abandonment. He hadn't even waited for me to be discharged, and hadn't even glanced at the 5 perfect miracles nestled in their bassinets. His focus had been solely on his escape, leaving me with the NC rushing weight of medical bills and a profound sense of betrayal. The man I had married, the father of my children, had chosen this moment and this sacred, vulnerable time to declare his financial independence from Honus. The irony was a bitter pill to swallow. I had given him life, 5 times over, enduring the agony and the ecstasy of childbirth, pouring every ounce of my being into bringing forth these precious souls. And in return, he had given me a mountain of debt, a cold, hard reminder of his callous disregard. He had always been obsessed with money, with a life NOF ease and luxury, a life he believed a son would secure for him. Each daughter born had chipped away at his facade, revealing the bitter resentment that festered beneath. He saw them not as blessings, but as a financial burden, a drain on his carefully hoarded resources. And now, and with 5 girls, his carefully constructed world had shattered, and hand WAS taking me down with it, using my body, my motherhood, as a tool for NHIS' own twisted escape. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the image NOF the mounting bills, but they were etched into my mind, a permanent scar. The cries of my newborns, once a source of immense joy, now felt tinged with a profound sadness. How would I explain this to them when NT Hay were older? How would I protect them from the shadow of their father's financial abandonment? The question swirled in my mind, an relentless tide threatening to pull me under. But then, a tiny hand, none bigger than a rosebud, curled around my finger. It was one of my daughters, her grip surprisingly strong, her touch a jolt of pure, unadulterated love. In that moment, something shifted within me. A spark, small but defiant, ignited in the depths of my soul. I was not just a victim, I was a mother. And my daughters, they were not a burden, but a gift, a precious, irreplaceable gift. His actions, his bitterness, NT Hay, were a reflection of his own brokenness, not mine. I would not let an HIS hatred define me or my children. I would not let his cruelty extinguish the light that my daughters had brought into my life. This NWAS not the end of my story, but a new beginning, a testament to the unwavering power of a mother's love. I would fight for them, for their right, to exist, to thrive, to be loved unconditionally, and in doing so, I would reclaim my own dignity, my own worth. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, I knew that, but I would face them head-on, with the strength of a lioness protecting her cubs. This was my promise, NTO myself, and to my 5 precious daughters. And subscribe to mine channel for more stories of resilience and triumph over adversity. Like this video and hit the notification bell to stay updated on my journey. NNNTHE, fluorescent lights of the hospital room seemed to mock me, casting ANH harsh glare on the mounting stack of papers on the bedside table. Each nun was a bill, a stark reminder of the debt he had so casually thrust upon me. His absence was a gaping wound, more painful than any physical incision. He hadn't returned, not even to cast a fleeting glance at the N5 tiny lives he had so casually discarded. The silence, broken only in by the rhythmic beeping of the machines, and the occasional soft coo from NTHE nursery was deafening. I longed for the familiar chaos of a newborn household, the comforting sounds of tiny breaths and hungry cries. And instead, there was this void, a chasm that had opened up between us, NS wallowing all the years of shared laughter and whispered dreams. And tried to make sense of it, to piece together the fragments of our life, NTHAT had led to this devastating moment. He had always been obsessed with money, with a life of ease and luxury, a life he believed a son would secure for him. Each daughter born had chipped away at his facade, revealing the bitter resentment that festered beneath. He saw them not as blessings, but as a financial burden, a drain on his carefully hoarded resources. And now, with 5 girls, his carefully constructed world had shattered, and he was taking me down with it, using my body, NMY motherhood, as a tool for his own twisted escape. I closed my eyes and trying to block out the image of the mounting bills, but they were etched into my mind, a permanent scar. The cries of my newborns, once a source of immense joy, now felt tinged with a profound sadness. How would I explain this to them when they were older? How would I protect them from the shadow of their father's financial abandonment? The questions swirled in my mind, a relentless tide threatening to pull me under. But then, a tiny hand, no bigger than a rosebud, curled around my finger. It was one of my daughters, her grip, surprisingly strong, her touch a jolt of pure, unadulterated love. In that moment, something shifted within me. A spark, small but defiant, ignited in the depths of NMY's soul. I was not just a victim, I was a mother. And my daughters, they were not a burden, but a gift, a precious, irreplaceable gift. His actions, his bitterness, they were a reflection of his own brokenness, not mine. I would not let his hatred define me, or my children. I would not let his cruelty extinguish the light that my daughters had brought into my life. This was not the end of my story, but a new beginning, and testament to the unwavering power of a mother's love. I would fight for them, for their right to exist, to thrive, to be loved unconditionally. Then in doing so, I would reclaim my own dignity, my own worth. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, I knew that, but I would face them, head on, with the strength of a lioness protecting her cubs. This NWAS my promise, to myself, and to my 5 precious daughters. And if you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to me, and leaving the hospital felt like stepping into a different dimension. The world outside, with its bustling streets and indifferent faces, seemed oblivious to the seismic shift that had occurred in my life. I clutched NTHE car seat, each one holding a precious daughter, feeling the weight NOF their tiny bodies, and the even heavier weight of an unspoken burden. NHOW, do you explain to a newborn, or even to yourself, that their father, NTHE man, who should have been their first protector, their first hero, NHAD, not only rejected them, but had left them with a mountain of debt on NTHE very day of their birth? The drive home was a blur of silent tears and the soft murmurs of the babies. Our house, once a home filled with NTHE promise of a growing family, now felt cold, empty, and haunted by NTHE ghost of a love that had died a swift, brutal death. I carried them in, one by one, their innocent faces a stark contrast to the turmoil raging within me. The nursery, meticulously prepared with pastel colors and soft lullabies, felt like a cruel joke. He had helped paint it, his NHAND, guiding mine as we envisioned a future that would now never be. Every tiny onesie, every soft blanket, every rocking chair seemed to NMOCK me with memories of a shared dream that had turned into a nightmare. I laid them down in their cribs, 5 perfect, fragile beings, and watched them sleep. Their peaceful breaths were a balm to my NREW nerves. a reminder of the profound beauty that still existed amidst NTHE wreckage. But even in their innocence, I saw the shadow of his rejection, a potential wound that I, their mother, would have to tirelessly work to heal. The first few days were a haze of feeding, changing, and comforting. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford, my body running on adrenaline and a fierce, primal instinct to protect my young. Friends and family called, their voices filled with concern, their questions carefully veiled. I offered vague answers, painting a picture NOF, a busy new mother, avoiding the truth that gnawed at my soul. How could I admit that the man I loved, the father of my children, hadn't abandoned us in such a cruel and public manner, and then left us with NHIS debts? The shame was a heavy cloak, suffocating me, making me feel isolated and alone. I knew I couldn't carry this burden forever. Then truth, like a festering wound, would eventually demand to be acknowledged. But not yet. Not while my daughters were so vulnerable, so dependent on my strength. I had to find a way to navigate this new reality, to build a life for us. A life where they would feel loved, insecure, and cherished, regardless of their father's absence. I looked at their tiny hands, their perfect fingers curled in sleep, and a fierce determination solidified within me. I would be their rock, their unwavering source of love and support. I would teach them that their worth was inherent, not dependent on anyone else's approval. I would show them that even in the face of profound betrayal, love could still triumph. This was my new mission, my sacred duty. And as I whispered in promises to my sleeping daughters, I felt a flicker of hope, a tiny ember in the ashes of my shattered dreams. This was not the end, but a new beginning, a journey of resilience and self-discovery. And if you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to an NNTHE hospital bill, a thick stack of papers, lay on the kitchen table, a constant, physical reminder of his abandonment. It was a debt I had no means to pay, a burden that threatened to crush me before I even had a chance to truly begin this new chapter. My mind, usually so clear and decisive, felt muddled, overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the task ahead. I had always been a homemaker, my life centered around my husband and our growing family. Now I was a single mother of 5, with non-immediate income and a mountain of debt looming over me. The thought wasn't terrifying, but beneath the fear, a flicker of determination began to ignite. I remembered my mother, a woman who had faced countless hardships with unwavering resolve. She had taught me the importance of resourcefulness, of finding a way, even when the path seemed impossible. And I had always had a knack for numbers, a quiet talent I had never truly explored. Perhaps, I thought, this could be my path. The first few days were a blur of sleepless nights and endless calculations. I pored over NTHE bills, trying to understand the labyrinthine charges, the hidden fees, the astronomical sums. It was a foreign language, designed to confuse and intimidate. But I refused to be intimidated. I spent hours on the phone, navigating automated systems, pleading with unsympathetic representatives, trying to negotiate, to find some glimmer of hope. The NR ejections were constant, each one a fresh sting, but I refused to give up. My daughters, though still very young, were my greatest motivators. Their tiny hands would reach out, their innocent eyes watching my every move, their soft coos, a constant reminder of why I was fighting so hard. And I knew I couldn't let this debt define their future or mine. I had time to find a way to make it disappear, to clear the path for a life free from NTHE shadow of his financial abandonment. One evening, exhausted and NDIS heartened, I stumbled upon an online forum for single mothers. It was Nina Lifeline, a community of women who understood my struggles, who offered advice, support, and a sense of camaraderie I hadn't realized I desperately needed. I shared my story, hesitantly at first, then with a growing sense of relief as their messages of encouragement poured in. One woman, a legal aid volunteer, offered to review my case, to help May navigate the complex world of medical billing and debt collection. Her kindness was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the cruelty I hadn't experienced. It was a small step, a tiny crack in the wall of despair NTHAT had surrounded me. But it was a start. I had found a way, a path forward. However narrow, my daughters, my 5 little angels, were mine inspiration, my strength. And as I looked at the setting sun, painting NTHE sky in hues of orange and purple, I knew that even from the darkest nights, a new dawn could always break. This was our journey, a testament to the power of resilience, the strength of a mother's love, and the unexpected kindness of strangers. If you're finding strength in my story, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to me. Then Section 4, the Climb Out of Den, THE Legal Aid Volunteer, a sharp and compassionate woman named Elena, then became my unexpected champion. She meticulously reviewed every line of NTHE hospital bill, uncovering discrepancies and inflated charges that made my blood boil. Armed with her expertise and a newfound sense of righteous indignation, we began the arduous process of challenging the hospital and the insurance company. It was a battle fought on paper, an war of attrition, waged through endless phone calls and meticulously drafted letters. There were days when I felt utterly defeated, when the sheer weight of the bureaucracy threatened to swallow me whole. But then I would look at my daughters, their innocent faces a constant reminder, NOF what I was fighting for, and a renewed surge of determination wouldn't course through me. Elena taught me the language of finance, the intricacies of medical billing, and the power of persistence. I learned NTO, track every call, document every conversation, and never take no for an answer. It was a steep learning curve, but with each small victory, a reduced charge here, a waived fee there, my confidence grew. I also started exploring ways to generate income. My talent for numbers, once A&D ornament hobby, became a practical skill. I began offering bookkeeping services to small local businesses, starting with the women I had met in NTHE online support group. Word spread, and soon I had a small but steady stream of clients. It wasn't much, but it was enough to cover our daily expenses and chip away at the remaining debt. The community that NHAD rallied around me continued to be a source of unwavering support. Neighbors offered to babysit, friends brought over meals, and the online N forum became a virtual sanctuary where I could vent my frustrations and celebrate my small triumphs. I realized that while one man's cruelty hadn't tried to break me, the kindness of many others was slowly, steadily, putting me back together. My daughters, surrounded by love and care, began to flourish. Their cries became less frequent, replaced by gurgles and OF delight and the beginnings of babbling. They were healthy, happy, and oblivious to the financial storm we were weathering, and in their innocent joy, I found my own healing. There were still moments of profound sadness, of course. Nights when the loneliness was a physical gnash, when the memories of his betrayal resurfaced with brutal clarity. And I would look at my daughters, their faces illuminated by the soft glow, NOF, the nightlight, and wonder about the man who had so easily discarded them. Would he ever regret his choices? Would he ever seek forgiveness? NTHE questions lingered, but they no longer consumed me. My focus hadn't shifted from the past to the present, from what I had lost to what I had gained. I had gained 5 incredible daughters, a newfound sense of purpose, and a resilience I never knew I possessed. I was no longer the woman burdened by his debt. I was the woman who was climbing out of it, none determined step at a time for herself and her children. I was learning to forgive, not for his sake, but for my own, to release the bitterness that had once threatened to poison my soul. It was a slow, arduous process, but with each passing day, the burden lightened and replaced by a quiet sense of peace. My daughters were thriving, there and laughter filling our small apartment, a melody that chased away the shadows. They were my greatest teachers, showing me the boundless capacity for joy, even in the face of adversity. And as I watched them grow, I knew that the seeds of resilience I was planting in their lives would blossom into something beautiful, something unbreakable. This was our journey, a testament to the enduring power of love and the indomitable spirit of a mother. If you're inspired by this journey, then please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more stories of hope and healing. Your support means that in Section 5, the unveiling of his reckoning years past, marked by the steady growth of my bookkeeping business and NTHE, ever-increasing volume of laughter echoing through our home. My daughters were no longer infants. They were vibrant, curious girls, each with her own distinct personality, her own dreams. They excelled in their studies, pursued their passions, and built lives filled with purpose. The last of the hospital debt had finally been paid off, and monumental achievement that brought with it a profound sense of liberation. I had done it. I had climbed out of the financial hole Hay and HAD dug for us, and in doing so, I had discovered a strength and resourcefulness I never knew I possessed. My daughters, when they weren't in school or pursuing their own interests, often helped me with NMY bookkeeping, their sharp minds quickly grasping the intricacies of debits and credits. They were thriving, surrounded by love and a sense of purpose. Then, one day, a familiar name appeared in the local news. It was him. The headline screamed of a major financial scandal and complex web of fraud and embezzlement that had finally unraveled. He hadn't been living a life of lavish excess, fueled by illicit gains, and now NHIS' carefully constructed facade had shattered. The article detailed his arrest, his public humiliation, and the impending legal battle that would surely strip him of everything he had once valued. My heart ached, not for him, but for the profound waste of a life consumed by greed and misguided sense of entitlement. There was no joy in his decline, none sense of triumph. Only a quiet understanding of the cyclical nature of life, of the inevitable consequences of one's actions. My daughters, who NHAD been listening from a distance, approached me after I finished in reading the article. Their faces were a mixture of curiosity and strange kind of vindication. They saw that the very things he had valued above all else, wealth, status, a male heir, had ultimately betrayed him. His pursuit of a legacy had led to his ultimate undoing, leaving him with nothing but the ashes of his own making. We spoke about it, and long into the night, about the nature of karma, about the cyclical patterns of life. I told them that while his downfall brought no joy to Todd and my heart, it offered a powerful lesson, that true wealth lies not in material possessions or a name carried by a son, but in the love we cultivate, the compassion we extend, and the integrity with which we live our lives. They understood. They saw that our family, built on love, resilience, and the unwavering bond between a mother and her daughters, was richer than anything he had ever possessed. This was our victory, not over him, but over the bitterness that could have consumedness. This was our justice, quiet and profound, a testament to the enduring power of kindness and the inevitable triumph of truth. If our story resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to spread this message of hope and healing. And in Section 6, the scales of justice NTHE, news of his financial crimes and subsequent arrest spread like wildfire, reaching even the most remote corners of our community. The man, who had once been a symbol of success, a figure of envy, was now an pariah, his name synonymous with deceit and corruption. The legal proceedings were long and drawn out, a public spectacle that laid bare NTHE depths of his depravity. He had not only defrauded investors, but had also engaged in a series of elaborate schemes to avoid paying taxes and child support, including the very hospital bill he had left me with. The irony was not lost on me. While I had struggled to pay off the debt HAD so casually discarded, he had been living a life of unbridled luxury, built on a foundation of lies. There was no grand, dramatic confrontation, no moment of personal triumph for me. Justice, in this case, was a slow, agonizing process, a relentless unraveling of a life built on deceit. My daughters, now young women, watched with a quiet intensity. They didn't gloat, didn't celebrate his misfortune. Instead, N.T. Hay observed, their young minds processing the complex interplay of cause and effect, of actions and consequences. They saw that the very things he had valued above all else, wealth, power, a name to carry on, were the very things that had ultimately destroyed him. He hadn't sacrificed his family, his integrity, his very soul, in pursuit of an legacy that now lay in ruins. I explained to them that true justice wasn't always about revenge, but about balance. It was about the universe, or perhaps just human nature, course-correcting itself. He had NSOWN seeds of bitterness and neglect, and now he was reaping a harvest of isolation and ruin. It was a harsh lesson, but a necessary one. They learned that the most profound consequences often came not from external punishment, but from the internal decay of one's own character. They saw in THAT, while he had sought to erase us from his life, our lives hadn't flourished, built on a foundation of love, resilience, and the unwavering support of each other. Our home, filled with laughter and the vibrant energy of 5 growing girls, was a stark contrast to the emptiness that now defined his existence. His pursuit of a male heir, a symbol of his perceived strength, had left him utterly alone, surrounded by the wreckage of his own making. This was the unseen hand of justice, in working its way through the intricate web of life. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was absolute. It was a testament to the fact that you cannot build a life on a foundation of cruelty and expect it to stand. And in witnessing his downfall, my daughters gained a deeper understanding of what truly mattered, not what you possess, but who you near and how you treat others. This was our quiet victory, a powerful affirmation of the values we held dear. If our story resonates with you, and how you please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to spread this message of hope and healing. In Section 7, the unburdened legacy years melted into decades, and the quiet hum of my home, once filled with the playful chaos of 5 little girls, now resonated with the laughter of grandchildren. My 5 daughters, now strong, independent women, had each carved out their own remarkable lives, their successes in vibrant tapestry woven with threads of hard work, compassion, and unwavering determination. They were doctors, artists, teachers, and entrepreneurs, each one a testament to the resilience forged in the crucible of our early struggles. They had not just survived, they had rived, carrying the lessons of our past not as a burden, but as a source of unwavering strength. Sarah, my eldest, became a renowned pediatrician, dedicating her life to healing children, her gentle touch in a stark contrast to the harshness she had known. Emily, with her artistic soul, painted murals that depicted stories of hope and overcoming adversity, her vibrant colors a celebration of life. Jessica, NTHE teacher, instilled in her students not just knowledge, but a deepened sense of empathy and self-worth. Olivia, the lawyer, fought tirelessly in the rights of the vulnerable, her voice a powerful instrument of justice. And Mia, the entrepreneur, built a successful business that empowered women, creating a community where support and opportunity. Wayne were an unbreakable circle, a matriarchy built on the foundations of love, mutual respect, and an unwavering commitment to each other. In memory of that day, of the unpaid hospital bill and his financial abandonment, still lingered, a faint scar on the landscape of our past, and it no longer held power over us. It had become a reminder and testament to how far we had come, to the strength we had discovered within ourselves. It was a story we shared, not with bitterness, but with a quiet pride, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a mother and her daughters. I often sat in our bustling home, surrounded by the NJOYOUS chaos of my grandchildren, a profound sense of peace settling over me. I had not given him a son, but I had given the world something NFAR more valuable: 5 remarkable women who would shape the future with their compassion, their intelligence, and their unwavering belief in justice. His legacy, the one he had so desperately craved, had crumbled into dust. Our legacy, however, was vibrant, alive, and unbreakable. It NWAS, a legacy built on love, on resilience, on the quiet power of women. NWHO refused to be defined by the limitations of others. It was a legacy NTHAT would echo through generations, a testament to the fact that even from the ashes of betrayal, something beautiful and enduring can rise. NMY Womb, once declared a source of his financial burden, had instead birthed a garden of strength, a testament to the enduring power of a mother's love. And as I looked at my daughters, I knew that this was the true triumph, the ultimate justice. This was our story, a story of abandonment and resilience, of loss and triumph, of a love that defied all odds. Thank you for being a part of our journey. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more stories of resilience, hope, and unwavering power of the human spirit. Your support means the world in TOUS and helps us continue to share these important messages with the world.